If you spent $1 million a day, every single day, no weekends, no holidays, no days off, it would take you over 27,000 years to spend $10 trillion. You would still be spending money by the time whatever comes after fire gets invented. This isn't quit your job rich. This isn't buy a private island rich. This is a number so large it stops behaving like money and starts behaving like a force of nature. So here's the game. You have $10 trillion. Every single dollar of it. We're going to spend all of it in every way we can think of, sensible, absurd, and everything in between, and find out exactly what happens the moment you try. A stack of $1,100 bills, $100,000, is about 4 inches tall, roughly the height of a coffee mug. To physically stack $10 trillion in $100 bills, that pile would need to reach about 6,800 miles into the sky. For comparison, the Earth itself is roughly 7,900 miles wide. Your stack of cash would almost pass clean through the entire planet. On its way up, it would blow past the orbit of the International Space Station more than 27 times over. Spend $1 million a day, every day, 27,000 plus years. Speed up, spend $1 million an hour, all day and night, forever. Still over 1,100 years. Speed up again. $1 million every single minute, non-stop, no sleep. Now you're down to about 19 years. 19 straight years of spending $1 million every minute of every day. And you'd only just now be hitting zero. The richest person alive right now is worth somewhere between $850 billion and a little over $1 trillion, depending on the day and how his company's stock is trading that morning. That's how fast fortunes at this level move. $10 trillion is something like 10 of him. Add up every billionaire on the entire planet. All 3,400 plus of them. Every tech founder, every oil heir, every hedge fund manager, and their combined fortunes come to roughly $20 trillion. Your $10 trillion is half of that. One person worth as much as every other billionaire on Earth put together, minus the other half. Fun fact, the US federal government, the most powerful government in human history, carries more than $36 trillion in debt. You alone could wipe out over a quarter of America's entire national debt in a single transfer. You buy the one mega mansion in Bel Air for $141 million. You call up Lursen Luxury Yachts and order a custom 600-foot floating palace complete with 2 helipads, a submarine bay, and a missile defense system. Cost? $1 billion. You buy a fleet of private Gulfstream G700 jets. You buy a private island chain. You buy the Real Madrid Football Club, the Dallas Cowboys, and the New York Yankees just to see them play against each other in your backyard. And this is where you hit your first crisis. You have bought every hypercar, every penthouse in New York, London, and Tokyo. You have exhausted the entire high-end luxury supply chain of planet Earth, and you haven't even dented 1% of your wealth. You quickly realize that buying things is boring when you can buy outcomes. You decide to play Robin Hood. You decide to see what happens if you lift the financial anxiety of an entire superpower. You walk into Wall Street and buy up every single cent of outstanding American student loan debt. Just like that, you write a check for $1.7 trillion and instantly wipe the slate clean for over 43 million people. Next, you target medical debt. You buy up the nation's total predatory medical debt portfolios for roughly $195 billion and crush them in a digital paper shredder. Let's check your bank account. You have spent roughly $1.9 trillion on debt relief, plus your $50 billion luxury spree. You are down to about $8.05 trillion left. But dealing with international bureaucracy is slow. What if you just skipped the paperwork and bought a country? Now, you can't go to a marketplace and buy Germany, but you can buy its entire economic output. $10 trillion is greater than the combined annual GDP of the United Kingdom, India, and France. If you wanted to, you could approach a developing nation with high strategic value, say, a nation rich in rare earth minerals or positioned along critical trade routes. You could offer to fund their entire national budget, pay off their entire sovereign national debt, and fund their healthcare and education systems for the next 50 years in exchange for total authority over their infrastructure development. You could turn an entire nation into a real-world Wakanda, a hyper-technological, zero-emission sandbox running on the world's most advanced automated systems. You would become a private citizen with the geopolitical weight of a nuclear superpower. But why stop at one country when the entire planet is burning? Let's fix the big one: climate change. Transitioning the entire United States electrical grid away from fossil fuels to 100% clean, renewable energy is estimated by Energy Wood consultancies to cost roughly $4.5 trillion. You decide to finance the whole thing. You deploy millions of advanced solar arrays across the American Southwest. You build massive offshore wind farms along the Atlantic and Pacific coasts. And to ensure the grid never goes dark when the wind stops blowing, you fund the construction of hundreds of next-generation, high-safety small modular nuclear reactors. To finish the job, you build a continental ultra-high-voltage direct current grid to transport that energy efficiently across thousands of miles. You replace interstate trucking with automated electric freight rail systems. The carbon footprint of the world's largest economy drops to near zero in less than a decade. You have single-handedly rewritten the course of human climate history. And yet, looking at your dashboard, you still have roughly $3 trillion burning a hole in your pocket. With $3 trillion left, the Earth is starting to feel a little cramped. It's time to look up. You buy out SpaceX, Blue Origin, Rocket Lab, and every major aerospace supplier on Earth, merging them into a single entity with an infinite budget. You have effectively turned humanity into a multiplanetary species. Your name will be carved into monuments on 2 different planets for the next 10,000 years. You have solved debt, hunger, climate change, and conquered the solar system. The video should end here, right? Perfect, beautiful utopian story. Except, there's a catastrophic problem we haven't talked about yet. Here is the terrifying truth about economics. Money isn't actually real. It is a shared illusion. It is nothing more than a token representing a claim on human labor and limited resources. If you actually tried to spend $10 trillion of raw cash into the global economy over a short period of time, you wouldn't build a utopia. You would cause a global economic apocalypse. Think about your debt relief plan. You wiped out $1.7 trillion in student loans. Suddenly, 43 million people have an extra $400 a month in their pockets. What do? They go out and try to buy houses, cars, electronics, and better food. But here's the problem. You didn't build more houses. You didn't manufacture more cars. You didn't grow more food. The supply of things to buy remained exactly the same, but the amount of money chasing them skyrocketed. The result? Hyperinflation. To safely spend $10 trillion without causing a worldwide economic collapse, you cannot act like a consumer or a traditional philanthropist. You have to act like a ghost. You must lock the money away in a sovereign wealth fund, investing it in slow-yield global assets and leaking it into the economy at a strict, controlled rate of no more than 1% to 2% per year. You have to fix the world slowly, or the world will break under the weight of your wallet. Having $10 trillion reveals a profound paradox. When you have that much wealth, your biggest enemy isn't scarcity, it's gravity. The sheer mass of your money distorts everything around it. You cannot simply be a good person who writes big checks. Every check you write alters the geopolitical balance of power. If you fund a solar grid in the United States, you crash the oil-dependent economies of the Middle East, potentially triggering wars. If you buy out global rare earth mines to build spaceships, you destabilize local governments across South America and Africa. You become an unelected dictator of human progress. You, and you alone, are choosing whether humanity spends its energy fixing our current planet or fleeing to Mars. You are deciding which diseases are wiped out and which ones have to wait. The money stops being a tool for freedom, and it becomes a massive, crushing responsibility. It is the power of a god, handed to a regular human being with a flawed, limited perspective. $10 trillion can buy you the future of civilization. It can turn sci-fi dreams into real engineering blueprints. But it can also shatter the delicate economic illusion that keeps our modern society from collapsing into chaos. So, let's put the question to you. If tomorrow morning you woke up, opened your phone, and saw this exact balance, knowing that spending it too fast could break the world, what is the very first thing you would risk everything to fix?